All right, so we're going to do a video today on how to set up a commercial client in EZL and then how to do a Acord sort of crash course here. So we basically come in, we go create commercial applicant. Hopefully we've already done a fact finder, so we've got all the info that we need for the client. And up here, so pull this over to another screen. Okay, so really what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut and paste this in kind of quick, and I'll get the idea here in a second. So name of the business, email, phone number. Always recommend getting not just office, but also a client's personal cell, if possible, if at all possible, so that it's got another way to contact them. If there is a website, we'd want to put a website in there. Tax ID. Tax ID is really helpful with looking up workers' comp and other things. Again, it's like the social security number for the business. And anything that marks in red, it's saying you basically haven't done it. Okay. Some of these codes we don't need, NAICS, SIC, blah, blah, blah. Those you really don't need. Here you do want to kind of just let us know, let the, I guess the system know what it is. So this is a veterinarian, which is really an office risk. So we'll put veterinarian. Okay. Date business started. That's kind of our, that's an important date for us. And that's really like the first date that we've had the client, not necessarily when they started business. You put address in here. And then once we get all this info into the system, it will then allow us to access the Accords. And so the Accords are how we do workers' comp and commercial property and a handful of other things. And you see that's pre-filling there, great. And then if there was another address, you would add that here. So what could that be? Sometimes mail and business is different. With commercial, that's not the case, so we'll remove that. And then here, the lead, where it came from, you could put that info in. This can be good, and I would recommend in terms of tracking and putting your lead info in, because it'll allow you down the road to run reports in terms of where business is coming from you. So we'll assign this to Mike. This is Mike's lead here. Now you're going to add the contact. So the contact would be who's the actual owner of the business or the contact in the business. Bassam, D. Okay, you want to do show additional fields. And then again, you want to input the info. So this is when we would kind of talk and say, like, the basic shell of an applicant, this is what we're talking about. Okay, and then we'll click save. Okay, and what you'll see, it'll kind of put off here and it'll let you know some of these basic things is where it's going to show up. So the name of the business, you know, who it's assigned to, the address, tax ID, cell, etc., right? Now from here, to get the work comp application, we're going to go in here, we're going to go add application. We're going to pick work comp. We'll put work comp. Typically, we'll click add application. And then here is what you can kind of think about. This info that we're inputting here is ultimately what's going to pull through to the Accord form. So everything that you're seeing in the system right now, we're going to input and then pull through to the Accord form. So we'll say nature of business again. What is it? And some of this stuff is a little repetitive. Now here, where this is the business date started, they want an idea on that. This guy's been in business a year, so we'll put 2019. Again, we'll put veterinarian. Location, we'll put add location. And then this is going to be the main location with work comp. If they've got multiple locations, we do need to list that. In fact, with work comp, because it's regulated by the state, they want to know what employees are in what states, what's their payroll, etc., etc. Okay, so we'll click OK. Okay, contact info again. who's the, kind of the main person running it. A lot of times with small businesses, you'll see it will typically be the owner. Sometimes it may be an office manager or an accountant or something like that. So we'll put that contact in for inspection, accounting, and claims. Now, the individuals to be included, really only have to include this right now. If we were excluding anyone, we're not, so we're not going to fill that in. Click Next. These, in essence, are going to mirror the questions that you would see on a workers' comp application. Like if I pulled up a work comp Accord, which you'll see in a minute here, that these are in essence those questions. Now, EZLinks is kind of nice because they've got this kind of yes, no for select all, and a lot of these are going to be no, right? So aircraft, watercraft, you perform work above ground, underground. Some of this stuff really deals more with contractors. Probably the only one that's a big one would be part-time or seasonal employees in terms of that. Does ask about revenue, so we want to get an idea of anticipated revenue. Again, work comp's not based on revenue, but they do ask about that. Then we go next. If there was any additional interest, we would add that there. And then on the work comp tab, this is where we're going to fill in what coverages we're going to have. Okay, participating means he does have a dividend plan. In terms of the liability, the employer's liability here, pretty much going to match what you would have on the proposal. Okay, and a lot of our work comp typically run anything through AmTrust if it's a little more what we'd call gray collar or a newer business, and then Travelers we do a lot for kind of white collar. Both Travelers and AmTrust are excellent companies, and we've got a whole handful outside of that too on top of that. But basically, if you look here at the proposal, I'm just trying to pull up the liability. Here's the liability. So the employer limits are right here, $1 million, $1 million, $1 million. Okay, and again, as we're kind of doing some training while we're talking here, the employer limits would be if he was actually sued as a result of one of the employees saying, you provided me an unsafe working condition and blah, 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 blah. Okay, then you add in the rate. I'm sorry, the rate class rather. Okay, the address will pull through. So this is just going to be clerical. So this is clerical. He's got like 2 clerical employees, and then he's projecting 45,000 for that. Okay. Now, if you want to fill this in, you can. You don't have to. Like here shows the. See, where is that? Here we go. Here shows the rate. Right. Remember, work comp is regulated by the state, so the rate and anticipated premium. Okay. Again, if you want to put that in, you can. You don't have to. But it is kind of helpful to start to learn some of these things. Clerical, which is 8810, is a big one. That's actually, even on that note, I didn't put the class code. So 8810 is clerical. So that's like your office, your standard kind of white collar worker, right? And then we'll add another rate class. So this is the second one. Then this is going to basically be, I'm just going to put, veterinarians. This is the actual doctor themselves. Really, right now, it's just him, and he's paying himself about $55,000. Okay. And then the rate on that is $1.82. Remember, work comp is rated per 100 of payroll. So whatever the total would be of actual payroll, like here, 55,000, you would to really get this rate. And I'll do this real quick because this would be good to see and have in a training video. So whatever this rate is, you would. Man, I hope that was recording. Whatever this rate is, you would do 55,000, and then you would divide it by 100, and then you would take that number, which is 550, and you would multiply it by $1.82, because that's what the rate is. That's how we get that 1,001 over here. Okay, so click OK for that, and then we'll go next. Okay, and then assigned risk, we don't even really need to fill that out because it's not part of assigned risk. This would be like what's called like JUA, which is through the state, which we don't do. So now we'll click Save and Close. So now we kind of have all this info like in the system, if you will. Okay. So from there, you would go down here and you would click on, I'm sorry, actually, you would go, maybe we can do this. Where do I go for this? you go to convert to policy. There's normally a little drop down which lets you get your actual Accord forms. For a second here. There we go. They just recently updated their user interface and it's a little more confusing in some ways. So you go to this, not the little 3 dots, but you go to this little clipboard looking thing, and then you're going to click Accord applications. And then this is going to pull you up like every Accord application you could ever need or want. Okay. Now it's already going to kind of pre-select too of what it thinks you need. You don't need this Florida Commercial Insurance app. You just need the Workers' Comp app. Now, typically, if it was something else like general liability or property, which are the 2 biggest ones we do, then you would need that Florida application. That's your 125. Your work comp form is your Florida 130.
I need the 125 for his.
You don't. No, because Attune has their own form. So, and Mike's asking a question. Basically, if a carrier's got its own forms, we always use those, especially if they pre-print and all that. We really only use Accords where it's required in lieu of if they don't have those. If we needed to add a form, we could. We can go in here. You can also do things like, okay, I want all forms. I want all lines of business. And maybe I don't know what it is. And I'm like, well, I don't know the number, but I know I think it's property, right? So you can kind of go in and figure stuff out from that a little bit. Of course, as always, if you've got questions, let us know. Then we'll click preview. Preview is going to pull this up. And again, we're about 10 minutes here. So once you do this a handful of times, it gets a lot easier. I know there's a fair amount of info in here, but a lot of it's just basic data entry, if you will. So once you get this form up here, you can kind of see everything that we put in there pulled over, right? Now you can kind of tweak or add a little bit more to it in terms of if anything didn't pull through correctly, which is nice. So you can literally update it in the system. And I'm trying to think of on that note. So I'll put here it's direct bill. We got the address, everything else pulled through. So here, prior carrier, and I didn't put that in on the system correctly. I'll just put guard insurance. And the carriers are really pretty good about, like, if you don't have all this, they're not normally going to give you a hard time with it. And that's really the majority of it. That's pretty much really what you need right there. Okay. So you've got most of that Accord form you can see already got filled out by everything we went through. So now we'll go actions, and then we'll go download. This is how I do it. And again, there's other people on the team. They may be able to tell you other things or shortcuts or whatever. But I do it like this because then I want to actually see the PDF. So now this is an official Accord PDF. Okay. And then I'll save it. Okay, so now I'll save it, and obviously, I mean, it's kind of nice. A lot of it's already filled out, so now I'll just put Good Shepherd Florida Work Comp application. Okay, so now I've got that in there. It will also show up in my documents because I've already done that in there. And now whatever needs to be done with it, whether the client needs to sign and you're sending it to the service team to do, or it's something you need to send out, you can run from there. So any questions, let me know.